So I'm the CEO and founder of Crowdflower. And actually, we're an 80-person startup in the Mission, and I started it in the Mission because I also live in the Mission, like the previous speaker mentioned. But so we're 80 people, about 80 people in the Mission, but what we work on is tools to enable our customers to access what we think of as the largest distributed workforce in the world. So I started this company because I believed in a massive untapped potential in the 2.5 billion people online. And I wanted to help companies unlock that potential by enabling them to confidently delegate tasks that were important to them to literally every person in the world. I think it's obvious there's potential efficiency gains here. I think for any particular task that you have, the optimal person to complete that task is probably not an employee in your company. It's probably not even someone that you know. It's probably someone halfway around the world, right? And when I say optimal person, I mean the person with the best set of skills to do the task competently, and also the person who's available to do it at the lowest possible price. And so what we do is help companies literally take things that are important to them and send them to somebody that they've never met. And they'll work for maybe 15 minutes, do something, and send that piece of work back to our customer. We think this is part of a general longer-term trend that this conference is part of, where companies are moving from longer-term employment to shorter-term employment to contractors. And we think that the Crowdflower model is the ultimate extension of this trend. I think a great consumer example that's gotten popular recently is Uber. So I took an Uber to come over here, and it's kind of amazing, right? I mean, Uber gives you access to lots of different drivers, but it's with one click you get the perfect driver who's closest to you, who takes you from exactly where you're starting to where you're going, and you have that interaction in minutes, and it's completely seamless, and almost always you get from the place you started to the place you're going to with high confidence. And so what Crowdflower is trying to do is take that great Uber model and make it available to customers for their business tasks. So I'll give you a really concrete example of a typical customer. This is Autodesk, and they have over 1 million customer records, and they're in every different language. And so they came to us and they said, you know, we have this problem where we need to categorize all these businesses, but we don't have people that speak Korean and Swedish, and we need to actually do this research to find out what our customers are actually doing. And so we took Autodesk's database and we connected it to our 5 million plus global workforce, but we didn't just connect it directly. We actually sent it through our platform, which makes sure that they always get back high quality results. And this is super important to them, right? So when they connect to our platform, they'll send us a single business, and we'll find someone that speaks the language that's necessary to research that business. So a Korean company will get sent to someone in Korean who will categorize that business. And now if we haven't seen that person before, we might actually get a second person or a third person to check that data and make sure that the data is accurate before it gets sent back to them. So they actually have an SLA with us where all the results that come back to them have to be above a certain level of quality, because what they're doing is actually directly inputting that result right into their system. So this whole thing happens in a closed loop, and no one ever has to actually watch the process, and we're constantly populating jobs to people around the world. I really wanted to give you guys a live demo of our system. If you're on your laptop and you're ignoring me, go to crowdflower.com and log in. That's actually the best way to understand what our system does. But this is a real snapshot of a user of our platform. So it's not like we create these jobs for our customers. We actually let our customers go in and type in exactly what they want. So you create a task, you create your set of instructions, and then you can see in real time as people work on this job. So this graph is actually the volume of people working on this particular customer's task over time. The green is results that we think are good for the customer, and the red are results that we don't actually trust to give back to the customer. So you can see that this job is running pretty well, and they're getting back lots and lots of results every minute. This is the kind of interface that a customer sees, that a worker sees. So when they log in, they'll see a task that looks like this. You can also go to Crowdflower and log in as a worker and see all the tasks that are available to you. And they'll go through and they'll do things like categorizing and tagging and writing content. people always ask, I mean, the question I always get is, and I get this always from my customers. I remember, in our first sales calls going out to businesses and saying, hey, I want to take some important business process that you have, and I want to send it to people that I've never met before. and they would look at me and say, just like, are you crazy, right? Like, how do you know that the quality results that come back through your system are going to be good? And so what all the people at Crowdflower do all day long is build tools to make sure that the quality results that come back for our customers are high. And so one example is we let people create test questions, right? So you can actually build kind of gotcha questions that people that'll insert into jobs. And you can set thresholds for saying people have to actually answer these test questions at a certain level. And then you can actually go through and you can look at your test questions. And typically what you'll find is that you maybe made one or two test questions that actually you mislabeled. And that'll show up as a question where lots of people are missing it or lots of people are contesting it. We also offer lots of validators and lots of other tools to make sure that our customers get really high quality results. I want to show you a couple kind of fun examples of things that people have done with this. So one is a customer called Delectable, which is actually an app that you guys can download right now. And it's for people that are really into wine. And so you take a picture of your wine bottle. And now there's lots of kind of automated algorithms that will do what they call OCR. I think that's optical character recognition, where it takes the text and turns it into digital form. But wine bottles are particularly hard, right? Because they have all these funny characters and kind of foreign language stuff on it. And so what we do is we just have people type in real time what shows up in that picture of a wine bottle. So actually, if you use this app and you take a picture, it'll actually create a job that gets sent to someone somewhere in the world who actually type in what's on this wine bottle. And then because they have that in a digital form, they can recommend other wines that you might like. And this all happens in a few minutes. And this is actually literally the interface that somebody working on this task sees. We also do a lot of image moderation for folks in the iPhone App Store. And we did a deal with Parse that actually got sold to Apple, where you can actually just, if anyone's a programmer here, you can just put in this snippet of code in your iPhone app, and now whenever a user uploads an image, you can have someone check that image and make sure that the content fits the App Store guidelines. And this is really powerful for small-time developers that actually couldn't afford an outsourcing solution to make sure that every image that gets uploaded meets the App Store guidelines. So you can actually pay $0.01 per image that gets moderated. And I remember we worked with Instagram in the early days when they were just sending a few images a day through a system and were actually checking the images themselves. And then as they exploded into higher and higher volumes, we had lots of people that were excited to do those labeling tasks for them. Another cool example is retail geofencing. So this is looking at the points for actually red laser that got sold to eBay and figuring out where stores were. And then maybe the most powerful example of this was actually in after the earthquake in Haiti. There were people on the ground that needed to translate lots of text messages written in Creole into English. And so we actually had a network of people that spoke Creole, and some of them were actually used to do this translation in real time to translate messages that were things like, I'm trapped under a building, or I'm going into labor. And this actually happened in real time, so that aid workers that mostly spoke English could get this information right away and go to wherever they were needed. Another super cool application that's actually a growing application for us is medical research. So this is a woman a Harvard professor who wanted to tag cells and images, and it was actually tagging. So these are I think like nuclei of cells, those red dots, those bright red dots. And so scientists have been using us to, instead of having grad students do this kind of tagging, they use our workforce to tag cells and tag neurons and other things that actually furthers research. We've been working with the NIH to structure drug descriptions and figure out kind of what descriptions of drugs and side effects are actually understandable to real human beings. And so, I'm always excited to see what new things people do with our system. Anyone can log in, anyone can start to create jobs, and I think this kind of audience that's really interested in virtual workforces will really find this an exciting and useful tool. Thank you.